We headed deeper into civilization, towards the downtown area with restaurants, gas stations, and grocery stores. The sky above had no stars, no sun or moon. It swirled in a dark blue hurricane, meeting in a black eye at the center. The cyclonic cloud peeled away like an old scab. Some pale light came, casting enough into a psionic light. I saw pale, dirty faces disappearing into the alleyway, and ruined homes, many of them apparently of children. "I saw 'em too," Bones muttered, holding his pistol tightly at his side. "They look like pictures of kids at Auschwitz I've seen, starving and filthy. Where's their parents, you think?" I shuddered to think about it, but if this place was sucking random people in, just making them disappear from the world, what if it was spreading, like a cancerous tumor hidden under gauze? I had nearly forgotten about Friend, the strange, shape-shifting creature who wore Jack's face, but he hadn't forgotten about me. We were passing the burnt-out hulk of a tractor-trailer when his shadowy face shot around the corner, staring at us with Jack's face. He had eyes like two burnt holes, black and smoldering. His body was a strange combination of spider and human, the thin limbs ending in sharp points. Fine dark hairs, like needles, covered his arms and legs. The bullet wound had apparently already healed. Black blood had crusted on the surface of his shirt and pants. He didn't hesitate. He attacked. He swung an insectile arm at Bones. I screamed, seeing it all happen in slow motion. The limb went straight through Bones' heart. Bright red arterial blood immediately began flooding out as he looked down in shock, still holding the pistol in one hand. He gurgled, dropping the gun and falling forward, dragging the arm down with him. I had the baseball bat in my hands. With all my strength, I swung it at the creature's head. It made contact with a fleshy thud. The soft, yielding flesh of the fiend cratered under the impact. Friend made a soft hissing sound as the wound bubbled and danced, as if a nest of mice were about to emerge. I leapt for the pistol. A choking sound gasped from Bones' trembling lips. The adrenaline rush made me feel no pain as I hit the hard, cracked road, rolling as I landed. I felt the cold metal of the pistol grip under my hand. I raised it, feeling the stab wound Fiend had given me earlier rip open again. Fresh streams of blood soaked my clothes as I fired, dripping from the long slash across my arm. The tip of Fiend's head exploded, the body transforming before my eyes into a black, spidery humanoid with a single spinning red eye in the center of its pointed skull. Dark blood, the color of asphalt, leaked down its naked, glossy body. It had no mouth or nose that I could see, but fine silvery hair covered its joints, its arms, and legs. The eyes widened in pain as it stared into the barrel of the pistol, one blade-like arm still caught in Bones' chest. I remembered the transmission that had gone through the radio, and I aimed at the center of that spinning eye. "Why do you keep taking Jack's form?" I asked Fiend, the gun feeling heavy as it trembled in my hand. "Why just him?" "I can take the form of any who are part of the Church of the Final Rapture, those who have given their souls to the dark presence here," he hissed cryptically. He jerked forward, trying to bring his other blade-like arm up towards my neck in a quick, slashing blow. I instantly fired, pulling the trigger over and over again. The first of the bullets pierced his eye. I saw a blinding explosion come from the center of it, like a flashbang, radiating light the color of an infected wound. Orange, the color of pus, spun around bright reds and necrotic blacks. I stepped back, crying out. I instinctively brought my hands up to cover my eyes. When I could see again, I found only a smoking crater in the spot where Friend and Bones had stood. Gray smoke hissed from the center of it. I knelt down, seeing a dark, jelly-like substance covering the jagged patches of concrete. I quickly realized it was flesh, though whether human or alien I couldn't say. Shell-shocked, I stumbled over to Bones's melted pants, feeling around his waist until I felt the cold metal of an extra magazine. I had emptied all the bullets in the gun, fighting friend. To my dismay, I realized Bones only had one extra magazine. Feeling sick and weak, I stumbled away, heading towards downtown, hoping against hope that I would find some solace or answers there. I was wavering on my feet like a drunk woman. As I got closer to the center of town, I found dead bodies hanging from the lampposts, many of them mummified or skeletal. I wondered how many people lived in this hellish world. I heard crying ahead of me, far off in the distance, and saw a girl kneeling before the body of a young woman. The corpse looked fresh, the tip of the demon woman's black tongue poking out through her stiff blue lips. The young girl's wails tore at my heart. The girl was wearing rags, tatters of a shirt and pants that were covered in streaks of what looked like dirt and blood. Her face was grimy, her eyes were big and blue. She looked up at me suddenly as I drew near, panic twisting her small face. She reminded me of the baby I had, the one who had died of crib death a few months earlier. My daughter had the same big blue eyes as the girl here. I looked around the destroyed world, seeing there were more spider webs covering the ruined buildings here. "Little girl, what are you doing here?" I asked. She grabbed at my shirt, pushing her small face against my thigh. "They killed my mommy," she wailed, trying not to look at the hanging corpse. I hugged her. "Who did? Who killed all these people?" She looked up, surprised. "How do you not know? It's the Church of the Final Rapture. They're trying to spread this..." She waved a dirty hand around for emphasis, wiping tears from her bloodshot eyes. "They think if they can spread the bad place far enough, then it will lead to the final judgment, and Jesus will come back, and good will finally win. But first, they say they need to kill a lot of people and make the battle happen." She shook her small head. "They're crazy, a bunch of religious nuts. Mommy always said so, and she was right. Look what they did to her." "What's your name?" I asked. "Marion," she said in a small, diffident voice. I helped her to her feet. "I'm Laura. You can't stay here forever, Marion. There are bad things here. Is it true there's a way out of here? A doorway of light or something? Have you seen any?" "I caught a glimpse of one once. It was beautiful, like looking into a rainbow. I thought I could hear singing." Her eyes got distant and far away. I took her hand, urging her to walk forward, away from the corpse of her mother. "So what happened?" I asked, trying to keep Marion talking. "I saw it, but by the time I found Mom and told her, it had evaporated." We turned a corner. Looming there overhead, we came face to face with what had been making the webs. My first thought was that it was some cross between a horse and an insect, the height of a small child and over a dozen feet long. It had the body of a struggling old man in its insectile jaws. They jutted out like the pincers of a stag beetle, with wicked serrated edges. Two bulbous black eyes emerged from the side of its head, the size of baseballs. They didn't appear to have any lids. They stared at us, unblinking. I saw myself and Marianne reflected in those black orbs, as if they were an obsidian mirror. The pale chitinous shell of the creature shimmered with rainbows as it turned in a blurring motion towards us. Its snout was rounded with two nostrils. Stringy, blood-flecked mucus constantly dribbled from its eldritch face, falling down from its nose and mouth. The hundreds of long, skittering legs moved in rhythmic, peristaltic waves. The old man continuously kicked and punched at the monstrous face, but the abomination didn't seem to notice or care. Blood dribbled from his toothless mouth, and deep slashes crossed his chest, stomach, and legs. His lips and fingernails took on a faint bluish cast as its black eyes focused on us. Frothy bubbles of clear saliva started dripping from its flexing pincers. With a primal reptilian hiss, it threw its head to the side. The dying man soared through the air, smashing into a concrete wall with a blood-shattering thud. "Stop!" I cried instinctively, raising the pistol and firing. Marianne screamed, running behind me and hugging my legs as the dark juggernaut ran at us. The first bullet caught it in the neck, but the thick black plates of scale deflected it easily, leaving only a series of fine cracks running down its torso. I kept firing, aiming for its face. The second one hit it in the right eye, which exploded like a water balloon full of blue blood. Its wailing intensified until I thought my eardrums might explode. Half blind, its body slithering towards us like a snake, its many legs driving it forward. I jumped to the side at the last second, but Marianne wasn't so lucky. The creature's massive pincers wrapped around her chest, grabbing her and lifting her into the air. Deep slices appeared in her rags as she cried, pleading for help. I inhaled deeply, aiming for the abomination's face, hoping I wouldn't hit the girl. The last bullet in the magazine pierced its other eye. It exploded. The creature dropped Marianne to the ground, wailing a stream of whistling shrieks. I grabbed her by the hand, lifting her off the ground. "Run!" I hissed through gritted teeth, pulling her forward. Up ahead, I saw lights illuminating a store. It was the only building with electricity that I could see. I found it strange. As we got closer, I saw the sign, Hell's Market. The insectoid creature's agonized screams drew other skittering monstrosities. They crawled out of their side streets and alleys, their strange horse faces and insectile jaws working furiously as if tasting the air for prey. I remembered the rules on the radio when it had said the markets were a safe place. I ran through the doors into a building that hadn't decayed like everything else. I felt crisp air conditioning. The glass here was intact, and row after row of cold drinks and ice cream and frozen meals stretched out before us. It looked like a regular market, but in the back I saw a doorless threshold with stairs that led down into a shadowy basement. I shuddered as I looked at it. Outside, the creatures had stopped at the front door, their bulbous eyes staring intently at us. "Are you okay?" I asked Marion, looking at her injuries. The creature had left 2 long slices along the sides of her chest. They bled freely, soaking her tattered rags in fresh streaks of scarlet. She nodded, silently, tears running down her rounded cheeks. We quickly grabbed drinks and snacks, chugging sodas and energy drinks and eating candy and beef jerky. I didn't realize just how hungry I was after nearly dying so many times, and Marianne looked like she hadn't eaten in days. I was staring out the front glass, looking at the creatures waiting there for us with hungry and bloodlust gleam in their eyes, when I heard heavy footsteps coming up the stairs at the back of the store. Marianne grabbed my hand tightly. "I think something's coming," she whispered in terror. Through the dark threshold, I saw a woman looming nearly 10 feet tall. The left half of her body was decayed and rotten, mummified and gray, like everything else in this world. The right was beautiful and young, the skin pink and healthy. Behind her, I saw her dragging a man's body wound tightly in razor wire, the sharp edges biting into his skin. I instantly recognized Jack. "Jack?" I asked, stepping back towards the door. "See your husband?" Hell hissed in a shadowy voice. She threw the trembling mass of bloody flesh at my feet. Jack screamed, kicking and twisting. "Get out of here," he whispered through gritted teeth. "I'll help you." "Did your help cause this?" I asked. Hell looked between us with a sadistic grin, the living part of her mouth splitting open. The dead part cracked, the dry skin ripping and showing blackened teeth underneath. Jack nodded. "The Church of Final Rapture. Yeah, we tried to spread the anomaly, to end all suffering, to cause God to notice us again and come back." Hell laughed at that, a sound like grating metal. "Foolish men, you shouldn't have played with things you didn't understand." Jack's eyes grew big. There was a moment of clarity as he met mine, motioning towards the back door at the back of the store. "I'll do what I can," he said, "with what the church has taught me." He closed his eyes as Hell drew near, her heavy footsteps shaking the store. She lifted up one giant naked foot, lifting it over his head, holding it there like a guillotine blade. It came down with a crunch. The door at the back of the store started to vibrate and shimmer with white light as Jack died. I heard singing from it. Grabbing Marianne's arm, I pulled her towards it. A large, rotten hand came out, grabbing at my hair. I felt myself pulled off my feet. Like a rabid animal, Marianne ran forward, sinking her sharp teeth into Hell's wrist. I felt the grip release, my back smashing hard against the floor. The wind was instantly knocked out of my lungs. Grabbing Marianne's hand, we crawled towards the door, only feet away. Beautiful, angelic singing resonated through it, growing louder as we got closer. Hell shrieked with fury as we crossed the threshold, disappearing into the light. Everything dissolved in the blinding radiance, and for a moment, I felt warm and free. I found myself back home with Marianne, the sun outside bright and clear. The freezer was still open, the dismembered head staring blankly at me. Marianne was gently crying, cradling her bleeding chest. All the agonies and wounds I had suffered instantly started shrieking, grating on my nerves. Sickened, I stumbled outside and threw up, trying to forget the nightmares and the broken bodies of that strange anomaly. You're still here. Thanks so much for joining us for tonight's spooky tale. If you'd like a little bit more spooky in your life, why not click on one of the videos that appears at the end of our story? Or maybe head on over to one of our playlists where you can get your fill of spooky content. If you like your spooky a little more tactile, I've got a new book that's come out. If you'd like your own copy, there's a link below in the description where you can get your own copy of my spooky book. If you like what you see here on the channel and think you might like to support in a more monetized way, then why not come over to Patreon or become a member on YouTube? Speaking of, let's go ahead and thank our members now. Thanks to Civ Garstad, Unicorn Hollow, and Army Dude for being our spooky ghost contributors. Thanks to Janet, Lee Kendall, Saikat, Ronda J, Sue Casper, and Valinator for being our spooky skeleton contributors. And thanks to Oh Snap, Hi Stacy, Winter, Xaronan, Stephanie Carrington, Tyler Parker, Cinnamon Fox, Grim Reaper, TomBoiTopUwU, and Queen Sheebah for being our ghostly reader tier contributors. And a big thanks to Scott Donahue for being our ghostly writer tier contributor. Thanks everyone. We just couldn't do the show without you. If you'd like to support the channel, then come on down to Patreon or become a member on YouTube. Spooky Skeleton tier contributors, that's our $5 tier, get their spooky 12 hours early at 8:30 a.m. as opposed to 8:30 p.m. my time, of course. And while Ghostly Reading is only a tier that's available on Patreon, you get a signed copy of my book anytime I write one on your doorstep in, hopefully, a timely manner. If you'd like a book, we have many on Amazon. I've got links below if you'd like to follow those. Should get you to my page so you can buy any one of my 8 books I believe we're up to now. I'm sure they'd look really nice on your shelf, and I'll sign them for you if you can find me out in the wild. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.